1.
Hi guys, welcome to some additional notes if you are aiming for a grade 8 or grade 9 regarding Juliet. If you want to follow my Instagram and Twitter for more tips and revision, it's at Stacey Ray. This will be by no means everything. It will be 10 minutes of analysis of some quotes and how to take them further. Please check out my playlist for all other things related to Romeo and Juliet. The first thing I'm going to come to is Act 1, Scene 5, and the shared sonnet. Remember, Romeo and Juliet share a sonnet in this, the meeting of the lovers. And by sharing the sonnet, we really have the connotations of unity and that the couple are united. Romeo begins by giving us a lot of religious imagery about the pilgrims and the holy shrine, and Juliet kind of reiterates some of that when she uses similar language. She says, though, that Romeo be the god of her idolatry. Now, we've got a couple of readings for this. The first one is that they are tiptoeing on the edge of blasphemy. So in the first instance, Romeo compares Juliet to a saint that should be admired. And the Anglican Church of Elizabethan times would see this as blasphemy, that somebody would be worshipping a person above God. Juliet then continues this example of blasphemy in the next scene, after Act 1, Scene 5, in the next moment with the lovers. When she calls Romeo God, she is effectively installing Romeo in God's place, and therefore her devotion and her worshipping will be of Romeo rather than God himself. Okay. Obviously, there's loads of connotations you can take from God as well in terms of her views of him. The shared sonnet does another thing as well, guys. Don't forget that, yes, it reiterates love and the iambic pentameter. However, it serves the darker purpose of reminding us of the prologue. The prologue was a sonnet, and that, remember, reiterates the death of the lovers. So the shared sonnet and the sonnet of the prologue are tightly linked. Juliet continues with blasphemy when we hit Act 3, Scene 2 as well, because remember, guys, we have to move seamlessly across the play. So if we were talking about Juliet, here's another instance of blasphemy. She says, "Can heaven be so envious?" And here, it's almost as if she's asking if the gods are so jealous of Romeo and Juliet's love that they would come between them and that they would cause tragedy, i.e. the death of Tybalt. There's connotations of their love being so rare, and then it becomes as if it's beyond the realms of reality and beyond the realms of any other loving relationship, because it's as if they need to be punished by a higher power. Act 1, Scene 5, then, Juliet makes the claim of, "If he be married, my grave is likely to be my wedding bed." Now, this is a big line, because remember, 3 of our main themes are tightly intertwined. That is love, death, and fate. And this line sums that up. Because before she even knows his name, she's head over heels in love, and she's already worried that if he's already married, she'll die. So you can see the foreshadowing of that. But on the other hand, you can also see that her devotion is from the get-go. Okay? Obviously, we know as well that Shakespeare is foreshadowing that Juliet's death dies pretty soon after the marriage. When we're linking this across the play, it links to Lady Capulet, the fool who married to her grave. So you've got those 2 images of Juliet being married to death. Okay. Act 2, Scene 2 is a big moment when Romeo comes back into the orchard. Romeo and Juliet's relationship happens most of the time in this play at night. It's light versus dark. Their relationship is forbidden. So they meet at night, they decide to get married, it's still night time. They die at night. The only time they are together in the daytime is when they get married, and that's because it's a lawful act. So you've got to start thinking about this through the play, and this idea of forbidden love, and this world away from the violence and the conflict. And when their world meets the normal society, then unfortunately it can't be. I am too fond. This is a big line, okay? This is a big line. Because she talks about refusing that, deny thy father and refuse thy name. So again, we have this notion that Juliet is confident and independent and assured that this is the man for her. However, she also, because remember she's inexperienced and she's young, tries to pull back her emotions when she says, I am too fond. She's concerned here that she has fallen in love way too quickly. Again, think about that subtle warning to the reader. It also serves as well, guys, as a mirror image of the tragic hero's flaw, Romeo. Romeo's tragic flaw is haste, that he acts in haste. So we've kind of got that mirror image. Her language is a direct contrast to Romeo as well, don't forget, because where she's very, very direct, which I'm going to show you now, he is metaphorical. So he gives us a lot of metaphors about the moon being envious and how she hangs on the cheek of night. Juliet isn't like that. She's a little bit more cautious, but her language is direct, and she says, it's too rash, it's too unadvised, it's too sudden. And she realises that this passion, it can be dangerous, and it's a little bit too much for her at the moment. Look at your adverb too. You know, it's almost posing a question: have I acted too quickly? Is it too unadvised because I don't have any experience? And then she compares it to lightning. Lightning being part of the natural world. So actually, in the same breath, there she knows that this love is natural, that this was meant to be. It was destined. Juliet as well, where we're talking about the difference between the two, it brings up the idea of marriage when she says thy purpose marriage. There is her directness, there is her confidence, and it's untraditional, isn't it? That a woman would bring up that, but again, it really serves to show us that Juliet's emotions cannot be questioned. She stopped him from swearing his love by the moon. She says it's too inconstant and too variable. She stops him from using traditional colloquial poetry. She encourages him to be genuine and to invest himself. And she says, "O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully." This is not a naive girl anymore. The hours lengthen, we know that because she's waiting for news. So we get this emphasis on time passing. She's presented as a little bit impatient there. Juliet in this scene shows massive progress in terms of maturity, character and loyalty, because she initially criticises Romeo for killing Tybalt, but she regains control, and using rashful thinking, she decides that she won't speak ill of her husband, and she kind of convinces herself that Tybalt must have done something to Romeo for him to kill Tybalt. So again, we see here how she has rational thought. She's desperate for nighttime to arrive, because remember, darkness and nighttime is when the couple are safe, and this is when they're going to have sex as well and consummate the marriage. The nurse's report obviously transforms Juliet to a widow, because she thinks Romeo is dead. "I'll to my wedding bed and death, not Romeo take my maiden head." So again, we have the association of Juliet and death, which we know are tightly intertwined. This is the first time we see Juliet as well speak in deep oxymoron, and a lot of oxymoron. I've just put one example there. Beautiful tyrant, fiend, angelical, but you get more one about the flower and the serpent, and we realise that this is a whirlwind of emotions for Juliet. She's married him, he's killed somebody. It's almost as if, what do I do? But she remembers, she finds the devotion and the unity that she so loves about this relationship. True Night is a big one because it's so easy to remember. It is an example of courtly love. She says, "Give this ring to my true knight." You can take the adjective true, which obviously literally means honest and genuine, but actually the origin of the word true comes from the word loyal. Knight has connotations of a knight in shining armour saving the damsel from distress. Well, in this instance, I suppose what Romeo serves to do is save her from the arranged marriage to Paris. And when we're linking across the play, it links to Romeo's opening when he meets her. I never saw true beauty till this night. Apologies, I've put a K on night there. Sorry, I never saw true beauty till this night without the K. Juliet, then, the last time she sees Romeo alive, has this vision that she sees him as one dead in the bottom of a tomb. Interestingly, that's the next time she's going to see him. So remember, Juliet and death are tightly linked here, and we have this idea that he looks pale. Again, it's the structure of the play. It's Shakespeare warning us that they can't be together. She manipulates Lady Capulet in this